in this video I'm going to teach you everything that I feel like you need to know as a beginner to learn how to crochet. Obviously, you don't have to be a beginner to watch this because I'm also going to have some hacks and tips throughout the video as well as some project ideas in the end, so stay tuned for that. Let's start with the supplies. So basically, you'll need yarn, a crochet hook in the right size, a needle to weave in the ends, and obviously a scissor. You might also need stitch markers, or if you don't want to buy that, you can use safety pins, scrap yarn, and earring. Moving on to yarn, these are the yarn weights, like how thin or thick the yarn is. It might seem a little confusing, but as a beginner, all this doesn't really matter. I would say though that weight 3, 4, and 5 are the most common, and for a lot of projects, you'll be good with weight 3 yarn. So the yarn is also made of different materials. There's cotton, acrylic, polyester, cashmere, wool. On the yarn label, it'll pretty much always say the recommended hook size, but this is just something that you need to experiment with, and it also really depends on the project that you're making. The hooks range from about 0.35 millimeters to even more than 25. But for most normal projects, you won't need a hook smaller than 2.5 and over 10 millimeters. The hooks that I use the most are 3 and 3.5, but just to show you, this is a little square with this weight 2 yarn, I think, using a 2.5 millimeter hook, a 3 millimeter hook, a 3.5 millimeter hook, a 4 millimeter hook, and this is with a 5.5 millimeter hook. So the hook size really controls if the project has holes or not. Now to the fun part, how to crochet. So grab your yarn and your hook, and we'll start with a slip knot. There's a few different ways to make one, but this is how I do it. So cross the yarn so you have a circle like this, and then you just pull this tail inside the circle and make a loop. To tighten it, hold on these 2 strands and then also on the loop and pull. Good, now insert your hook and pull this tail. I don't know what went wrong when I learned how to crochet, but I'm left-handed and I crochet like I'm right-handed. So I hold my crochet hook like this in the right hand, and then with the left hand, I hold my yarn like this. But through this whole video, I'll do a original version and a mirrored version. So just look at the one that looks like how you crochet. For every crochet project, except if you're crocheting round, you have to start with chain stitches. So hold the yarn and the hook, swing either behind or in front of the hook. I like to do behind. And then you just pull the hook towards the loop, and there you have it. That's one chain. As a beginner though, figuring out how to hold the hook and yarn is one of the hardest parts. So you can also make chains an easier way. Put the hook in between your legs, hold the yarn in one hand and then the end in the other. Then you just swing the yarn in front of the hook and pull the end with the loop up like that. Moving on to single crochet. This V right here is the chain, and to make a single crochet, you have to skip the chain closest to the hook and insert the hook right here. On the back, it should look like this. And then you want to wrap the yarn around, go out of the V again, and then we have 2 loops on our hook. So then we just want to wrap the yarn around the hook again and pull the hook out of these 2 loops. And that's a single crochet. Now a half double crochet, it's kind of the same as single crochet, but instead of going just right into the V, we have to wrap the yarn around the hook first, then go into the V, wrap around again, out of the V, and now we have 3 loops on our hook instead of 2. Wrap around the hook again and pull the hook through all 3 loops. Next, a double crochet. As the half double crochet, we have to wrap the yarn around the hook first before going into the V, then go into the V, wrap the yarn around the hook, go out of the V. Now we have 3 loops again, but we're only going into 2 of them. So wrap around and pull through the first 2 loops. Then wrap the yarn around the hook again and go into the next 2. Lastly, for the basic stitches, we have a slip stitch. So go back to what you learned from the single crochet. Insert your hook in the V, wrap around the hook, go out of the V. Now we have 2 loops in our hook, and this might seem a little confusing, but you have to turn the hook so the first loop stays on while you pull through the second loop. Now, when you're at the end of a row, you have to chain 1 to make the project straight on the sides and not like a triangle. And then turn your work. If you're doing double crochet, chain 2 instead of just 1 because the stitch is taller. Anyways, as you can see, there's V's again, but this time you have to go under it like this, not into it. Or actually, you can go into it, but then it'll look like this. Before we move on, there's these things called increase and decrease, and I feel like it's mostly used when crocheting round. So for a single crochet increase, it will look like this. And then decrease is making less stitches than before, and there's actually a few ways of doing that. Method number 1, this is the one that I use the most. Go into the V, then go into the next V the same way. Wrap the yarn around the hook, pull through the 2 loops that you just picked up, and then wrap the yarn around the hook again and pull through the 2 loops on the hook, just like a normal single crochet. For method number 2, I want you to go under the V like this, then wrap the yarn around, go out, and then go directly into the next V, wrap the yarn around, go out, and then we have 3 loops on our hook. And just wrap the yarn around and pull through all 3 loops. Now for the hardest part of crocheting ever, the magic ring, which is not even that hard. I actually think that the hardest part of making a magic ring is knowing how many increases you have to do in the circle. But I recently found this little schedule on Pinterest. So if you want to crochet a flat circle, you have to start with 8 stitches. Then for the next row, you have to have 16 stitches in the end. So that's an increase in every stitch. And then third row, that's an increase in every second stitch because you have to have 24 by the end. But back to the magic circle. I can't really explain what I do, so I'm just going to show you. Then when you're done making the first row, you have to pull this tail. Then to make it an actual circle, just make a slip stitch into this little V right here. As we're doing all new rows, chain 1 or 2 if you're making double crochets. This time we actually don't have to turn our work, so if you want to try a different look, just keep on crocheting that way. But you can also turn your work if you want that instead. And then you just have to remember to increase the right amount depending on what row you're on. And when you get to the end of a row, just slip stitch into that V. But magic rings aren't only for circles. You can also make hearts and stars with a magic ring. And to make granny squares, you have to also make a magic ring. Okay, let me show you how to change colors. I have 4 methods, so just pick the one that you like the best. Method number 1, the magic knot. So what you do is make 2 knots like this. The first knot, and then the second knot over here, and pull them together by pulling in the 2 long tails and just cut these off. Method 2, the square knot. This is a little smaller than the magic knot. Put the two colors like this. Take the right end over the left and scoop it under and over again. Take the same tail, but it's now on the left side, and put that one over the one on the right. Scoop under. It should look like this, and tighten by pulling in all 4 tails. Method number 3, I don't really know what this is called, but I'll be doing single crochets to show this. So do like normal, but only to the point where we have the loops on our hook. Then take the new yarn and put it on the hook like this. Pull through, and then cut the old yarn. You can just leave the ends like this, but I hate weaving in, so I just make 2 knots and keep on crocheting by holding these ends like this. That way they kind of disappear. Method 4, kind of like the last one, I'll be doing single crochets to show this as well. So do the single crochet, the full single crochet, and then when you're done, just make the loop on the hook a little loose and take the hook out. Insert the hook in these 2 loops. Hold the new color like this and pull through the 2 loops. Then pull this tail from the last color to close the loop. And now you can just make new single crochets and keep on going. But yeah, these were 4 ways to switch colors. I think there's a few more, but these worked just fine. We have now got to the hacks. So starting off with hack number 1, how to make your yarn thicker. So let's say you bought this very beautiful color yarn that's so perfect for a project you want to make, but it's just a little bit too thin. I have 2 or 3 solutions to that problem. If you have 2 of the same colors, you can just put them together and crochet like this. But if you only have 1 yarn ball, just take the end on the outside and the end on the inside, which can be a little hard to find, and put them together. Now, if you want something even thicker, just place your yarn in an S like this, put it together and make a slip knot, and then you'll have to pull the thin strand of yarn in the loop every time you run out of yarn. Hack number 2. Now, I know I just told you to crochet into the V, but if you look at the back, there's this bump, and if you crochet into that instead, both the top and the bottom will be equally as stretchy, and it'll also look the same. Hack number 3, making your project the perfect length. So if you make too many chains and only realize that when you're all the way into the first row, you don't have to unravel it and start over. Just crochet until it's how long you want it to be. Then get your scissor and count 2 chains away and cut it and pull in this tail. If you didn't make enough chains, you can make foundation stitches, which is when you make both the chain and the single crochet at the same time. So to make a single crochet foundation stitch, go into this V again, wrap the yarn around, pull out, wrap around, and then only pull through the first one. Then wrap around again and pull through both of them. A foundation double crochet is like this. Wrap around, go into this loop, wrap around, go out, wrap around, pull through 1, wrap around, pull through 2, and wrap around, pull through the last 2. If you find it hard to do magic rings, there's actually something you can do instead. It's really simple. Chain about 4. Then slip stitch into the first chain like this, and then you have a hole where you can make the stitches that you need to make. If the hole is too small for the stitches you need, then just make 5 or 6 chains instead. Now this next hack, if you can even call it that, is really helpful if you're making clothes. It's this stretchy band. To make it, you have to crochet a few chains. These chains are how tall you want it to be. I think 7 is pretty good. Then make single crochets into the V's or the back bump like normal. Now for the second row, instead of going under the V, go into the V like you maybe did with the chains. And then chain 1 for the next row and just keep on going into the V. Okay, last hack, or I guess it's not really a hack, it's more like how to. So you know when you crochet a bag and it's really annoying to sew together at the end? Well, you can actually just crochet a bag in one go. To do that, you have to start by creating the bottom piece. So chain how much you want, then do stitches in every chain, and make a few rows until it's big enough for the bottom. Then crochet this way. This is kind of hard to count and this may be wrong, but I just make one stitch into each one of these. And then you have to go into the bottom stitches. Then we have to go into the sides. And now slip stitch into the chain. Chain 1 or 2 again, and just keep on going. At the end, you'll have a bag. Okay, so now you need to get started on something and actually experiment with crocheting instead of just listening to me talk and maybe follow along a little bit. So here's some beginner project ideas they can definitely do if you're not a beginner. The first one is a hooks and crochet supplies case. This is so useful and it was also one of the first things that I ever crocheted. There's a bunch of different bags you could crochet. So obviously a shoulder bag. You could crochet a makeup bag, a computer sleeve or computer case, an AirPod case, a card holder or wallet, and a bookcase or book sleeve. A crocheted bookmark. I feel like you can make this so adorable. If you own a car or your parents agree with this, you can make a car basket and a seatbelt cover if it scratches you a little bit sometimes. A drink or cup holder to bring a drink with you. And then coasters. Pant separators are really useful. I crocheted some for my mom. You could also crochet trays for jewelry or any other stuff. And I've never really seen this before, but a phone charging holder. This is really useful. You could make a couch pocket, I'm pretty sure it's called, for books and the TV remote. Also a pillow. I feel like you can make it super cute using granny squares or just with something on it. You could also just do it completely plain. And then a plushie if you have a little sister or just want something cute in your room. This one takes so long, but a blanket. To organize your churches, you could do cord keepers and you can just make a bunch of them. A keychain, you could do stars or just little plushies on them. And then a scarf. I've seen ones with bows and stuff. These are really cute as well. And lastly, if you do yoga, you could do a yoga mat strap. But that was all. I really hope that you learned something and that you're ready to crochet now. So, see ya!